Let's go get 'em. Let's go get 'em. You don't see it, but it's right there in front of you. You don't see it, but it's right there in front of you. You don't see it, but it's right there in front of you.
Shabbat Shalom, Yasharella, and everyone else out there. My name is Ara Rakah, and here with me today, as usual, is Maka'ala Anal, the Meek One. Before we get into the lesson, we have some major prophetic news to talk about. But first, we got breaking news. Throughout all the turmoil going on in the earth, the Most High has heard the cries of his people who reside in Jordan and the hardships that they encounter regarding the renewal of their visas, and sent a gift to all American citizens seeking refuge within his borders, within the borders of Jordan, where he vowed to protect us. Big news, Ak. You know what I mean? Like, that's huge. Anybody that's been out here for any length of time knows that it's been a big hassle trying to get visas renewed. You know, you come in, they give you one automatically, a 30-month temporary visa, and then after that, you have to go down to the police station after that month's over to try and get your visa renewed. And they might give you 3 months tops, you know. It might. Usually a month or two, you know, but it's no guaranteed process, you know. So a lot of our people are out here walking around with their visas expired, you know, and not wanting to leave for fear of not being able to get let back in. So this is huge. This is big news.
Very special.
Yes, because now, you know, it was on April, I don't know if anybody can help me out with the date, the beginning of April sometime, middle of April this year, the Jordanian government passed a law to allow American citizens to apply for a multi-entry visa, 5-year visa, where you can come in and out of the country multiple times, and your visa is good for 5 years. That's major, you know, because a lot of our Hebrew brothers and sisters out here have been crying and, you know, struggling and with that issue. Praise AHAYAH that he opened that door for us, and right at the right time, because we have a lot of news this week on the tensions flaring up between the U.S. and Iran. And we know that Iran in scriptures is the Medes. And scriptures say that the Medes would be stirred up and would eventually strike the U.S. and desolate the U.S., where, you know, man nor beast would be found, and would totally destroy the U.S. And the U.S. and Iran has been going back and forth all week, and we got some news to bring up on that. So without further ado, our first news letter that we have is the U.S. sent 1,000 more troops to the Middle East amid Iran tensions. So let me try to find that, and we'll get to that news clip. Here we go. We have a lot of news happening this week internationally with the U.S. and Iran, and at home. Try to get to as many as we can. It says U.S. to send 1,000 more troops to the Middle East amid Iran tensions. The move comes as Pentagon releases new photos in reported tanker attacks and Tehran sets 10-day deadline on nuclear deal. We know that the U.S. backed out of that nuclear deal that President Obama made with Iran before he came out of office, and both sides was complying until President Trump decided he no longer wanted to be in the deal. Fears of a confrontation between Iran and U.S. have mounted since the two oil tankers were attacked in the Gulf of Oman. We know that those two oil tankers that were attacked, the U.S. blamed on Iran, and Iran said they had nothing to do with those attacks. Acting U.S. Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan has announced the deployment of about 1,000 more troops to the Middle East for what he said were defensive purposes, citing concerns about a threat from Iran. And of course you can read more on that in www.aljazeera.com news. We don't want to go too much in, we just want to bring a little brief synopsis about these clips because we have so many to get through. But like I said, if you want to read more about that, go to aljazeera.com. We're going to stay on this subject, and we're going to go and see that Russia to Iran. This is a message from Russia to Washington. Excuse me, not Iran, to Washington. Drop Middle East troop plan and stop provoking Iran. This is Russia getting involved, telling Washington, the U.S., to stop provoking Iran and do not send more troops. Because the U.S. has been loading up on aircraft carrier ships. They got drones flying over there, which we're going to get into about that in a little bit. But the article reads, Moscow. Russia told the United States on Tuesday to drop what it called provocative plans to deploy more troops to the Middle East and to cease actions that look like a conscious attempt to provoke war with Iran. The comments from Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov to Russian news agencies followed an announcement from acting U.S. Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan a day earlier, who said Washington planned to send around 1,000 more troops to the Middle East for defensive purposes. And you can read more about that in www.reuters.com. Russia to Washington, drop Middle East troops plan and stop provoking Iran. What we got next coming up is Iran shoots down U.S. military drone aircraft. Let's get a little bit more on that right now. Iran shoots down U.S. drone aircraft. Having trouble pulling that up. We'll get to this. Okay, for some reason we got trouble bringing that one up. Let me try one more time. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, here we go. Iran shoots down U.S. drone aircraft, raising tensions further in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran shot down a U.S. military drone on Thursday, further escalating already volatile situation playing out between Washington and Tehran in the Middle East. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it had shot down an intruding American spy drone after it entered into the country's territory on Thursday. A U.S. official confirmed to CNN a drone had been shot down, but said the incident occurred in international airspace over the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital shipping routes. The location of the drone has become a key point of contention since the incident. Iran maintains that the U.S. aircraft was downed in Iranian territory, with Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tweeting a timeline of the incident later on Thursday at 00:14. U.S. drone took off from UAE in stealth mode and violated Iranian airspace. It was targeted at 0400 hours at the coordinates of 25 degrees, 25 degrees, 59, and 43 degrees north, 5702, 25 east. So you can get more news on that on www.cnn.com. Next one up is strikes on Iran approved by Trump, then abruptly pulled back. This is the NewYorkTimes.com. Strikes on Iran approved by Trump, then abruptly pulled back. During a meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, President Trump responded to questions about Iran shooting down a United States surveillance drone. President Trump approved military strikes against Iran in retaliation for downing of American surveillance drone, but pulled back from launching them on Thursday after a day of escalating tensions. And you can read more about that in the NewYorkTimes.com. We have so many things going on this week that I don't want to spend a lot of time on one individual article. Number 5 is Iran says it refrained from shooting down a U.S. plane with 35 on board. Let's get a little bit more information on that. They said they could have shot down another plane that had 35 on board. Iran says it refrained from shooting down a U.S. plane with 35 on board, Tasnim News. Iran refrained from shooting down a U.S. plane with 35 people on board that was accompanying the downed drone in the Gulf, a Revolutionary Guard commander says on Friday. The head of the Revolutionary Guard's aerospace division was quoted as saying by Tasnim News Agency, with the U.S. drone in the region, there was also an American P-8 plane with 35 people on board. This plane also entered into our airspace, and we could have shot it down, but we did not. And you can read much more on that in the Reuters.com article. Next we have Iranian general says U.S. was warned several times before drone was shot down. Let's see if we can get to that one. Iranian general says U.S. plane was warned several times before drone was shot down. An Iranian general on Friday said that officials sent multiple warnings to a U.S. military surveillance drone before firing off a missile to down the aircraft this week. Unfortunately, they did not answer. General Amir Ali Hazada said in an interview with state television, according to the Associated Press. Hajazadeh said officials eventually shot down the drone in international airspace after it was found to be flying above the Strait of Hormuz. He also said that officials were able to collect pieces of the drone found in its territorial waters, which could reportedly be seen behind him in the interview with state television on Friday. And you can read more on that on thehill.com. And we have so many of these articles. Let's see, what we got next is airlines avoid Iran drone strike area due to fears of escalation. Due to fears of miscalculation, excuse me. International airlines have started to alter course around Iranian airspace following the shooting down of a U.S. military drone in the Gulf. British Airways, Qantas, Lufthansa, and KLM were among the carriers that said they are choosing to reroute flights after the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration issued a warning and blocked U.S. registered aircraft from flying over Iranian waters in the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman. And you can get more on that on theguardian.com. Now, in the U.S., amidst everything else going on, we know that these natural disasters are leaving our farmers struggling to get their crops out. It's been raining so much that it's been very hard for the U.S. to get out their normal production of crops. So this article says, rain leaves vegetable farmers struggling with no aid in sight. You can get this on www.time.com. Torrential rain leaves U.S. Midwest vegetable farmers struggling with no aid in sight. In this Monday, June 10th, 2019 photo, Andrew Dunham harvests turnips on his 80-acre organic farm in Iowa. Like farmers throughout the Midwest, this spring's torrential rains turned Andrew Dunham's land into sticky muck that set back nearly a month in planting his crops. Unlike other farmers, though, Dunham won't get a piece of the $16 billion aid package to offset his losses, and he can't fall back on federally subsidized crop insurance because he grows herbs, flowers, and dozens of vegetable varieties, but not the region's dominant crops of corn and soybean. There are no federal bailouts for vegetable farmers, says Dunham, who owns an 80-acre organic farm with his wife near Grinnell, about 50 miles east of Des Moines, and is enduring weeks without sales as his crops ripen. We'll just miss out on 3 weeks of income. Wow. It's really going down in the U.S. with all these natural disasters that the Most High said he would punish that nation for what he has done to his people. Also, we have pharmacy warns FDA of cancer-causing chemicals that are found in widely used heart pills. This is an article from CNBCnews.com. A pharmacy warns the FDA that it found a chemical believed to cause cancer in a widely used blood pressure medication, according to a filing. How many of our people are on high blood pressure medication due to all the terrible GMO foods they're eating over there in America, aka Babylon? Valisure told FDA that high levels of, forgive me for mispronouncing this word, dimethyformaldehyde were found in valsartan, a drug produced by Novartis and other pharmaceutical companies. Valsartan, that's the name of the drug that has this chemical, this cancer-causing chemical. Valisure, an online pharmacy company licensed in 37 states, told the FDA last week that high levels of that drug I just mentioned, dimethyformaldehyde, were found in valsartan, a drug produced by Swiss drug maker Novartis and other pharmaceutical companies. The drug is used to treat hypertension in adults. The World Health Organization classifies that drug, or otherwise known as DMF, as a probable human carcinogen. To read more about that, www.cnbc.com. So without further ado,